Welcome back to the Kosi Arsenal channel. My name is Kosi. Welcome back to a brand new video. Next week is going to be very important for Arsenal, but especially Mikel Arteta and Andre Bata, as they have to make a very big decision. Now, according to David Ornstein, next week Arsenal plan to pounce on starting to sign a striker, as they have finished the signing of Martin Zubimendi and they want their transfers to be happening a little bit early and quick. So Mikel Arteta and Andre Bata will start right away after the end of the campaign. However, there is one big problem, and that problem is that Andre Bata and Mikel Arteta are still undecided, and they're still deciding on whether to go for Sesko or to go for Victor Gyökeres. They've done a lot of work on both of the deals. They've done a lot of work on personal terms and everything, but they're still undecided either to go for Victor Gyökeres or to go for Benjamin Sesko. Now, according to Team News Antics, it says Arsenal have already decided. They have decided to go for Benjamin Sesko as the priority, and Victor Gyökeres is just an option on the list of strikers Arsenal are going to sign this summer. That story has been bullied and debunked by Goldback CFC, who have actually said they have very strong information from inside Arsenal that Victor Gyökeres is the #1 priority at Arsenal centre forward, and Sesko is just an option. So there is a lot of information coming out on who's going to be the player that we start working on and finalizing next week. Is it going to be Sesko? Is it going to be Victor Gyökeres? I'm going to be giving you all the information given to us by CFC Goldback, and I'm also going to be giving you the information given to us by Team News Antics, and then maybe we can know where Arsenal are standing at the moment. But let's get into it. Let's start off with that David Ornstein report. At the end of the season, which is this weekend, Arsenal want to start working on their transfers as quickly as possible. Andre Bata is one that wants to work on transfers quickly, is one that wants to do deals a little bit earlier on in the summer rather than later, and he doesn't want to panic. So he wants to avoid the situations where Arsenal signed Raheem Sterling on the deadline day. He wants to get his deals a little bit aligned and done early. Even if a player is not signed in June, or even if a player is not signed before the start of the start of the summer, he wants players to be aligned already, so that by the time we get the funds, by the time we get to that time, maybe July, maybe August, Arsenal already have clear targets, and then we just go and do the deals. And that is, for me, absolutely okay. And that means that next week is going to be a very crucial week for Andre Bata and Mikel Arteta as well. And the reason for that, first and foremost, Andre Bata is going to want to start completing deals next week. We have been told that it's been laying foundations and laying groundwork on a couple of deals. So starting next week, he's going to want to start completing and getting some of these deals over the line. But he's got to get permission, and he's got to get an agreement from Mikel Arteta. And there is a position that they want to start with, and that position is still causing a lot of problems. So David Ornstein says that both Mikel Arteta and Andre Bata want to start with a forward. They want to start with a centre forward right about now. After Martin Zubimendi arriving in January, Arsenal want to start this summer by getting a new centre forward. But the question is who? So David Ornstein, this is what he said, and I want to quote him so that we get him right. He said, it seems Arsenal are deciding between which of Benjamin Sesko or Victor Gyökeres to pursue as their preferred target. They are both under consideration, but it is hard to know who is higher. There are many factors that contribute to such decisions being made. And we're going to talk about those factors because it says there that they're both under consideration. We know that. And it's hard to know who is a little bit higher in terms of the priority ranking. Is it Sesko? Is it Victor Gyökeres? Then there he says there are many factors that contribute to such decisions being made. And those factors obviously include the price of the player. They include the project that the manager is running. They include the skill set of the player. They include things like resale value and so many other things, and we are going to talk about them. But before we do talk about them, there are two reports that have actually said Arsenal have already decided. Arsenal have already known who their #9 is. The problem with those reports, they're coming in from different sources, and very trustworthy sources, by the way, but they are not in agreement on which player as they've actually decided. So the first report yesterday came in from Team News and Ticks, and I really, really respect Team News and Ticks. And this is what he said. He said, I believe Benjamin Sesko is the first choice for Arsenal. However, Victor Gyökeres is still there as an option. That's what he said. I believe Benjamin Sesko is the #1 option for Arsenal, and Victor Gyökeres is there as an option. And there's so many reasons why Benjamin Sesko would be our #1 choice, and I'm going to give them to you later on in this video. But that report was actually debunked by another credible outlet, and this time it is Goldback CFC, the guy that first reported about Kai Havertz to Arsenal, and all of us said, it's not gonna happen, who's this guy? And the deal actually happened. And he actually says something very interesting. He says the Victor Gyökeres deal to Arsenal is more advanced than people think. But this is the whole quote. He says, I was told by two very good sources that I trust extraordinarily that Victor Gyökeres is absolutely Arsenal's #1 target for striker. There is a lot of people inside Arsenal, including Bata, that want him, and it could be a lot further down the line of advanced than reported at the moment. So this one, Alex Goldberg believes that Gyökeres to Arsenal is the priority, and for any reason the deal could be more advanced and progress further down the line as compared to the Sesko deal, or as reported by mainstream media. Now, that takes me back to David Ornstein's statement that there's so many factors that actually contribute to a player being chosen as the #1 priority. Let's start off with Benjamin Sesko, because the first story came in from Team News and Ticks, and he's saying Benjamin Sesko is the #1 priority. And also, of course, Team News and Ticks is closer to Arsenal than Alex Goldberg, because Alex Goldberg reports more of Chelsea information as compared to Team News and Ticks, who reports more of Arsenal information. And if I were to believe, I really want to believe Alex Goldberg, but at the moment, if I was to choose one account to believe, I would definitely go with Team News and Ticks. I trust him, and I know that he's closer to Arsenal than Alex Goldberg at the moment. But if Arsenal are going to choose Benjamin Sesko, these were the factors, and these are the reasons why. #1, his age profile, right? Remember, when Arsenal were trying to were starting to build this project with Mikel Arteta, the expectation was that Arsenal were going to sign players between the age of 21 to 24. And these players were expected to develop together and, become a major winning team for Arsenal maybe 6 years, 7 years later. And it has actually happened, because if you look at the likes of Gabriel, who are 27 at the moment, they were signed 5 years ago at 22. You look at the likes of Saliba, who was signed before even Mikel Arteta. Then you look at the likes of Ben White. You look at the likes of Martin Odegaard. So the profile of Benjamin Sesko fits into what Arsenal are trying to do in terms of signing young players that have a higher ceiling, signing young players that have the ability to develop and blossom into world-class stars. If you think about Arsenal right now, Timber can become world-class, Saka can become world-class, Ray can become world-class. All the players we have at the team, they're so talented, but they still have a lot of time on their biological clock as players to go and become world-class players. So I think at Arsenal, it is being looked at as a very big consideration. And I would say if Victor Gyökeres was scoring goals like that, and he was 23, 24, bloody hell, he would be an Arsenal player by now. But because of the age thing, Arsenal saying we don't want to sign old players, right? Of course, there are a few exceptions. You have the likes of Mikel Merino, was signed at an older age, Trossard as well, and Jorginho. But think about the role of Sesko and Victor Gyökeres, or the centre forward at Arsenal. He's going to be a player that is expected to be there for about 7 years. A player that is expected to be there for about 6 years. He's not coming in as a backup. The centre forward you're trying to sign is going to be the lead man. So I think for Sesko, age is on his side. #2, the playing style. Now, when you think about Arsenal, Mikel Arteta is 100% going to try to sign another Gabriel Jesus. Mikel Arteta is 100% going to try to sign a player that is not a traditional nine. And we know that Mikel doesn't want goals from one player. He wants goals across the shop. So he doesn't want this kind of Rasmus Holland, this kind of Olivier Giroud, this kind of striker that has to wait to be fed. He wants a player who's going to drop in and give you a lot of energy, give you a lot of options in terms of creating overloads in the midfield and all that kind of stuff. Link up play is going to be elite and also pace, right? So I think when I think about the profile, right, it's Benjamin Sesko again, because Mikel Arteta loves that profile. And you might say, what do you mean? Look at Alexander Isak, guys. Look at Alexander Isak. Apart from the natural talent of Alexander Isak, Sesko is the same profile of Alexander Isak. Quick, can do on the transition. He's one of those players that don't need to be fed, and he's versatile a little bit. He can play across the shop, especially not across the shop, but you can play him across that forward line. You might shift him to the left, you might shift him to the right, and he is one player that can come in and give Kai Havertz some breathing space. So in terms of the profile, again, Benjamin Sesko makes sense, and I understand if Mikel Arteta is still pushing for Benjamin Sesko. Now, the other thing that is pushing Benjamin Sesko is the data. So the data team at Arsenal are saying, this is the guy. This is the player. We have looked at his statistics, we have looked at his numbers, and we have looked at his trajectory. 2 to 3 years from now, he's going to do it. And of course, what Arsenal need right now is a guy that can go and do the goal scoring right about now. But of course, you've got to think about the future. We still have a group of very young players that are for the future. You think about Ethan Nwaneri, you think about Mauleo Scully, you think about Julian Timber, you think about Saliba and Gabriel. All these players have a lot of football to play in the next 5 years. So you want to bring in players that can actually support that as well. So the data team is saying we are supporting Sesko, not Victor Gyökeres. And for those reasons, if Arsenal signed Sesko, I wouldn't be happy, but I would understand. Now, for Victor Gyökeres, it's Andre Bata. It's Andre Bata. And this story started when Andre Bata was given the contract at Arsenal. And it was reported by The Athletic that Gyökeres is a big target for Andre Bata. And he wanted to sign him for Atletico Madrid even before arriving to Arsenal. Now, why Victor Gyökeres? First and foremost, for me, this has been reported widely that Andre Bata is seen as a sporting manager, a sporting director that is going to take Arsenal to the next level. And for you to take Arsenal to the next level, what do you need, right? You need to make us cross the line, win the Champions League, win the Carabao Cup, win anything and everything there is to win. If you're Andre Bata and you've been tasked with making this team to win, do you go with some guy that will score goals in the future, or do you go with a guy that has scored goals in the past, is scoring goals now, and will score goals when he arrives at Arsenal? That's what you go with, and that is Victor Gyökeres. So Victor Gyökeres, the data and the numbers speak for themselves. He doesn't need a lot of statistics. The numbers speak for themselves, right? And I think that is why Andre Bata is obsessed with this guy. That is number one. It's the goals. He is an absolute monster in front of goal. He's a goal threat and he's a goal machine. Number two, Andre Bata likes strikers in their prime. Am I lying? I'm not. Look at Luis Suarez. And many of the strikers he has signed for Atletico Madrid are either in their prime or in the evening of their prime. Still the same thing. They're about there in their prime. Luis Suarez, David Villa. You look at this guy scoring a lot of goals now. Julian Alvarez. Of course, you have Alexander Soloth. Douglas. Is it Douglas Costa? Or not Douglas Costa. It was Diego Costa. So he wants a striker in his prime. And the strikers that are in their prime and are worth the money, it is Victor Gyökeres. 27, he is in his prime. He's scoring goals left, right, and center. And the third option, of course, there you have, is the market opportunity part. He's going to cost about 60 million. It's going to cost about 60 million. He's 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, maybe 32. He's going to give you 5 years. And those 5 years, at the moment, you get a striker who can give you 5 years at 60 million, and he's the quality and level of Victor Gyökeres. That is an absolute steal. The problem, though, is that it's a bit of a high risk, because if you signed Sesko right now, if it doesn't work out, you can sell him 3 years later and he would be 25 or 26. If it doesn't work out for Victor Gyökeres, 2 years later, he's going to be 29. He's going to be like Dusan Vlahovic. No one is going to give you 40 million. No one is even going to give you 35 million. That's the problem. There is a high risk there. But for me, if you ask me, I would say let's wait for next week, because next week is going to be very crucial and it's going to be very, very important. If we get it wrong, we are done. If we get it right, the Premier League and the Champions League teams, they are absolutely done. So who do you think is going to be? Will Mikel Arteta win? Will Andre Berta win? That is what I want you to tell me in the comment box below. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll most definitely speak to you right in the next one.